The smell of freshly cut grass.
The Lord of the Rings extended editions.
A good book series you can binge from beginning to end.
These are the best things in life.
Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
From fancy epics to historical sagas.
From classics that shaped us to hidden gems.
These are our top 10 series of all time, regardless of genre. Today, we are talking about the big guns. Another excuse to discuss our favourite series of all time, which include many of our favourite books of all time. We'll be doing 10 each, following our usual format of 2 videos, because I was both rambling on about 10 books
it does
each.
Sound like
does take up a lot of time. So today will be our 10th favourite to our 5th favourite. Some crop up twice. There are many different genres. We limited it to 1 series per author. And so let's get into the business side of things. And just before Ed says his number 10, please tell us your favourite series of all time. And also, if you know us well, what books do you think will be cropping up? And if you want the extra challenge, rank what we think we'll say as well.
Okay, I could do that. I might comment on it a little bit later on.
That would be cheating.
That would be cheating. Number 10 for me of my favourite book series of all time has to be Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Now, I know that Austin from Two to Ramble will be very, very happy. Pierce Brown's Red Rising is a monumental trilogy. It's a space opera, a sci-fi fantasy, a coming-of-age story that is focused on vengeance and revenge and revengeance and revenge. It's a great mixture. It is an incredible series that tackles some really deep themes, some intriguing politicking, with a Roman influence behind the series. It is so fast-paced. The characters are really dynamic, are so exciting to read, and I think the word exciting really wraps up what Red Rising is. Every single page to me is exciting, has something that is pulling me in, whether it's a type of immersion, it's the world building, which I do love sci-fi for. I don't really read much sci-fi, but I love the sci-fi world building elements. Whether it's action, whether it's a character motivation or something that happens in their arc, Pierce Brown really has a deep understanding of how to craft story and character and drive. And he does all 3 here, and it is incredible. Darrow has some extreme aura, doesn't he?
He has aura.
Severo, what a legend. The cast here is insane. And Pierce Brown's just someone who I could just talk to for hours upon end. And a lot of people would agree. They'd probably just be looking at him and they wouldn't hear what he's actually saying. Because as Joe Abercrombie said himself, he's a man with very sad but beautiful eyes and a very handsome hands. But I love Red Rising. It's one of my favourite series. It's number 10 on my list.
In the number 10 spot, I've got some historical fiction. It is The Rise of Sigurd trilogy by Giles Kristian. We have axes, mead, and more axes. On top of that, we have blood feuds and searches for vengeance. So really, we're just spoiled for choice for what to love in this series. We all love a good vengeance story, and we have that in abundance in here. It is also coming of age and that Magnificent Seven vibe of getting a group together that have a similar cause, but also are very, very different and may not be united under different circumstances. There are tensions, there are things that divide them, but there is one thing that will make them work together for a little bit. Anyway, Giles Kristian has lyrical prose. He is a fantastic historical fiction author. One of the best, I think, at striking the line between historical immersion, but then also not bogging you down in the detail. It is really a fine line. It's different for everyone, but for me, it is just perfection what he crafts here. We had a rule of 1 series per author, so I found it very difficult to decide between this and the Arthurian Tales. And instead of having to choose one, I thought I'll do the series that is more coherently tied together, because Arthurian Tales are 3 standalones that do come under the umbrella of 1 trilogy, but they're very separate as well. So I thought I'll choose the trilogy more closely united, and I didn't have to put myself through the pain of choosing just one. But yeah, Giles Kristian, one of my favourite authors of all time, and the Rise of Sigurd trilogy is just incredible, and also one that I think is super accessible, and I'd recommend to fantasy readers and historical fiction readers alike.
Yeah, and this series is just all out bloodshed. It is a saga, but written to a heavy metal album, I would say.
I like that, Ed.
Thank you very much.
That is my number 10.
My number 9 is Shauna Lawless's The Gaul Song Trilogy. Now imagine the character of Cersei Now imagine if she was Irish, and you have the Gaul song. This is the story of 11th century Ireland, where the Viking Ages meets the Irish tribes and clans that inhabit there. And it is an amazing story filled with fantastical elements, with the Fomorians. It is filled with the Vikings. It is filled with immersive historical details and magic and bloodshed and traitors and betrayal and love, and there is a lot of hope within these pages, which I feel is kind of a core of Shauna Lawless's writing, that she has friendships and relationships and love at the heart of her story, but it's each character deals with their surroundings and deals with those feelings differently, whether it comes out in anger or lust or betrayal. That a character is always experiencing something different. It's a multi-POV story. It is a trilogy. It's 3 books. That's what
Is it 3 trilogy?
But there are several novellas that are
3
kind of,
actually
sprinkled in between. A trilogy of novellas that are sprinkled in between, and I would highly recommend reading those as well, because they supplement the series to a whole new level. They're like the best creatine, aren't they?
Oh dear.
Maybe more like steroids, to be honest.
Maybe,
because they have some serious impact.
It's very enjoyable.
Yes, very enjoyable. Okay,
but we don't know what
you
steroids
get
feel
up
like
to on the weekends.
as you can probably tell.
The Children of Gods and Fighting Men is the first book, and you are meeting several key players here. And Shauna Lawless's writing is it's grounded in reality, but it really plays into the fantasy really well. She's got a lot of strengths in her pen, I would say, and it's just such an exciting tale filled with a lot of tears.
Very nice head.
Please check it out. It's a mixture of historical fiction and fantasy.
can
In the
you ask
Viking
for?
Ages, what more could you ask for? Give it a go.
Number 9 for me is continuing the historical fiction train with The Wolf Den, one of the most powerful and moving historical fiction series I've ever had the pleasure of picking up. It takes you into the lives of women in Pompey's brothels, and they are slaves, and somehow balances that atrocity and brutality with resilience and hope. It is about a sisterhood, it is about the ties of friendship and camaraderie, taking you through the darkest times of your life through the perspective of Amara. It is one POV, and she is just magnetic. I don't think I've ever followed a character with such little agency who still hooks you in every single chapter. Little choices, little uses of that tiny bit of power can have such repercussions, and you just know that despite her intelligence and her attempts to help those around her, if anyone higher up than her notices, it will all crumble just like that. There is tension dripping through every single page. As I said, it's magnetic. It's like the North Pole versus the South Pole. It draws together, and it's stronger than anything I looked at in the science lab. So the Wolf Den trilogy is exceptional, and I cannot wait to pick up more by Elodie Harper. She has just released a new book called Boudica's Daughter, some more historical fiction I've been hearing sensational things about, and it is just up there with the best books I've read of all time, and the best series of all time. How funny it's in this video. There we go. That was The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. Lyrical prose meets standout characters.
Good choice, Will. Number 8 for me is a familiar book for those who watch the channel regularly, or maybe even watch BookTube regularly. I bet no one has not heard of Philip Chase, Dr. Fantasy himself. The Way of Edan. This is book 1 of the Edan series. It is a trilogy. There is a 4th book that is a standalone set after the 3rd book, the finale of the trilogy. So I'm going to include all 4 of those in this series here for me. Now, the Edan trilogy is something that captured my heart from the very first time that I read it. We were lucky enough to be beta readers for Philip Chase before it was published, and we quickly discovered that Philip has I would say that his literary canon is very similar to our own. The influences that he wears on his sleeve are, the majority of them anyway, are influences that we kind of have on our own bookshelves as well, and he has a lot of core themes that are similar in this book to, I would say, The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless, and also The Faith and the Fallen by Papa Gwynne. Now, The Way of Edan is imagining the landscape of Middle-earth, beautifully written with deep lore and magical beings and a sense of time. but it's been invaded by the heroic grey, morally grey characters of David Gemmell's world. And to me, that is an amazing mixture of two different fantasy writers who really have amazing peaks. And Philip Chase captures a spirit that is so unique to his own world as well. The world building is intense. The songs and the lore in the world is inspired by Anglo-Saxon history and culture, and I absolutely love the Old Norse references as well. Now, if you remove all of the Easter eggs, if you remove the world in which the book is set, at the core of it are characters that are going through deeply personal circumstances that will change them, will alter their lives and the lives of the world around them to a whole new level. And what I love about this series is that it's very, very bold. It's very, very brave. That Philip takes some really, really interesting decisions with his writing that I think maybe a book that has been published by a traditional publishing house wouldn't be able to, would have a lot of other voices around it, trying to shape some things differently. But I love this trilogy so much. There are still characters that I think of every day, and some of them shine like stars to me. And it's a series that I would say, if you love epic fantasy, if you love historical fiction, if you love Papa Gwynne's books, if you love the prose of Janny Wirtz, and if you love the world building of Tolkien, or the heroic characters of David Gemmell, then give this series a shot.
That was incredibly eloquent, Ed, taking on Dr.
Not
Fantasy.
not like me at all, Will.
Number 8 for me is a series we've already heard about. That is Gaul Song. So thanks, Ed, for
your
beating
own
me to that.
personality. Read your own books, man.
I know, although I don't know who introduced it to the other, so let's just call it even. And I won't talk too long about this, as Ed was already very eloquent about it, but this is just a fantastic blend of history, mythology and fantasy in late 10th century Ireland. What more can you ask for? Oh, you've got some compelling characters, a lot of political intrigue and lyrical prose as well. Shauna Lawless just knocks this out of the park, and I think her craft improves.
Into the stands.
I know, so any parks near you, you might find a copy of The Children of Gods and Fighting Men.
Hurtling towards your head.
So duck. Anyway, each book gets better and better. I think that she's really honing her craft. Even though it starts great, each one just gets better and better. And I've really noticed that with how seamlessly the plot develops in the later stories as well. And I cannot wait to read more by her, because she's coming out very soon with Daughter of the Otherworld, which by the time this video is out, the book may be out. It will be definitely around that date. And we'll be talking about it a lot on the channel soon. So if you'd like to hear us rambling on more about Shauna Lawless's work, please do subscribe and continue watching us for a little while longer.
I'm taking a leaf out of Will's book here, and I'm going to be talking about a series that he's already spoken about. But although he did introduce me to this series, as you can tell, I love it more than he does, because it's higher up on my list. So The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper is one of my favourite series of all time. It's not a competition though, is it? Well, everything's competition when it's between us. Mm-hmm. William did put it very well. That it's a really good series, basically. It is... Well, I never thought I'd enjoy a series so much that featured no swords. It's not like me, is it?
No, it's not.
There's no swords or warfare.
No.
So I don't really understand why I like it.
I thought you were unwell.
Yeah, I probably did have a fever when I read it.
Probably.
The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper captures the human spirit so well, and seeing these characters in such compromising times of their lives and seeing them pull together and their sisterhood with one another is so heartwarming at times, and also frustrating at others. I think it's rare for a book to make you feel so much in a short space of time.
Yeah.
It feels as effective as, say, the book Glorious Exploits for me, where I was laughing on one page, angry on another, and then crying in the next, and then laughing again. It's like such a roller coaster, a tumbling machine.
Yeah.
A tumbling machine? A tumble machine.
Tumbling machine.
Until I haven't got a tumble. A tumble dryer. Of emotions.
Machine.
I'm just constantly on the spin, constantly on the wheel. You know when Saruman falls and he spikes himself, and at the end of and
That's how you felt reading this.
Just going round.
Wow.
And that's how I felt. But I was stuck to the wheel. But
I imagine when they directed that scene, they never thought in 20-something years.
Edward Gwynne on the Brothers Gwynne.
Well, so that's how he felt reading The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper.
But it's just an amazing series. It's an amazing trilogy. I didn't love the last book as much as the first two, but book 2 is so incredibly incredible.
This is why we're reviewers, guys.
That I just had to put it this high up on the list. The last book is still great, but to me, the second book.
So it goes.
The second book is the
in your
peak.
opinion.
Yeah,
still
the ending of book 2 as well. But yeah, Elodie Harper has again a deep understanding of character, of flaws, and the way that you can spin a tale as a weave. It's amazing.
And just to emphasise, Ed still really enjoyed book 3.
What
rating did you give it?
I gave it 4. So,
exactly.
Yeah, books 1 and 2 were just
number 2 is like a 6-star read.
12-star reads. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have to go. I have to be silly, don't I?
5-star, 6-star, 4-star. So it evens out at 5 stars, really, doesn't it?
You are so numbers coded.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's the next number, Will?
Next up is number 7, and yours was just your number 7. So it's the same number as you started it off. I let you start first as the elder. Anyway, number 7 for me is The Last War by Mike Shackle. This is taking the premise of what if the bad guys won? What if Sauron took over?
What if
the
Will
Shire?
won the war?
Exactly, the evil force taking over in Ed's mind. I think we got bigger fish to fry in that case, Ed.
You know, in Macbeth, when he says full of scorpions.
Is my mind. You just think of full of will. Is my mind. Anyway, what if the bad guys won? Let's look at the aftermath of that in a gritty world that is very dark, but also full of hope that allows the darkness to be bearable. Reading this feels like being in a fight you can't win, but you still love every single second, because even though you can't see a way out for your characters, even though it feels like you're being dragged down into the depths of despair, you somehow keep on fighting and you love the journey. We've got characters part of a resistance, we've got those who are part of the old army, we've got those just trying to survive in a city that is occupied, and they're turning in the cogs of a wheel that drags them into the momentum of events that they cannot escape. It's fantastic, following characters from different echelons of society. It is really just human, despite all the magical and fantastical aspects in here. It is human, and it really explores the human condition, about how much damage can someone take. It is inspiring in many ways, looking at the resilience of the human spirit, and how many more times can I say human? Quite a few more. There are humans
It is so
in
grounded in human experience, though. Even though, that's what I love, when writers are really effective with using fantasy settings. You know, they can have the big explosions and the cool creatures and the, speaking to creatures, and you can have the magical powers that you wouldn't have in the real world. But it's all about humans at great odds.
Yeah,
that's to me, that's what Lord of the Rings is.
But that's not all it is. It is also incredibly fast paced. I'd say similar to Papa Gwynne, in that every chapter almost ends on a cliffhanger or something that drags you onto the next one.
Sometimes the characters are on cliffs as well.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And that is what keeps you up late at night. This is one of those fast paced series that you must binge. And also, book 2 has one of the greatest subversions of a trope I have ever read. It's up there, the top 3, and I don't know if it will ever be displaced, because it is just sensational. I literally put the book down and put my hand on my head, and I was like, whoa.
What the hell?
And to have that visceral reaction is pretty standout. So The Last War, up there, my favourite series of all time. A fantasy series, maybe my first fantasy series on this list, because I had a historical fantasy, but my first out-and-out fantasy tale.
Well, I'm going the reverse direction, and I have an out-and-out historical fiction, which I think a lot of mine have been historical fiction as well, which is The Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. Now, it kind of is historical fantasy, really, but it is marketed as a historical fiction. This begins with the Winter King. Now, this is the real historical edition of the Arthurian legend. Would you say myth or legend, Will?
Arthurian retelling. So it's the Arthurian myth, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because at college, we were taught to call it a legend.
Arthurian legend as well. They all work, because it's kind of myth.
Well, you're not there saying myth and legend are different things.
It's like British myth now, but legend is probably more accurate.
What would you say Robin Hood is?
Robin Hood is... I don't don't know.
I'd say a legend.
Yeah, more than mythic.
Is it a legend because it's a figure?
I don't know, to be honest.
Wow, this is the man who studied English at Durham.
Well, I think it's good to, say if you don't know instead of pretending.
That is good. I would pause the video, I would Google it, and then I would make you edit it so it looked like I knew.
Now they know what you do when there's a cut in the video.
You told me to be honest, Will.
Oh,
you said
dear.
Anyway, let's talk about BC. The big BC, the king of historical fiction. This is his best series by far. His most unique, his most breathtaking, his most incredible characters written. You have characters here who obviously come from the Arthurian myth or legend, and they are larger than life here. Merlin is an incredibly Weasley character. He's a little git, to be honest.
Oh, it takes these characters that are so embedded in our own knowledge, especially if you're, I don't know if it's the same in America, but I think it is. Arthur is just one of the most well-known figures and the core characters around that.
Yeah.
That a subterfuge of that, and
Yeah.
really, it's not
He
quite
plays with it.
Exactly. He doesn't kind of change everything,
No.
but he does make drastic changes,
Yeah.
and also lots of subtle ones that reel you in and keep you focused.
Yeah, he's a great fisherman, Bernard Cornwell. And he's also a fantastic postman because he delivers on every single page. The storytelling beats are amazing here. Lancelot is such... I mean, what could we call him, Will?
Nothing, because it would be a spoiler.
True. So I won't say anything.
A great character.
There are some characters here who are just incredibly written that I still think about them every single day. This was probably one of the first series that I ever actually finished, and it still will always kind of hold a special place in my heart. But after having reread it several times, it just holds up so well. And if you were looking to get into a historical fiction series, this is the series to get into above all others, I would say. This is the best starter. The Winter King starts slightly slow, but it's so important that you get through those first 90 pages, and then you're in the heart, the thick of the story, the thick of the shield wall, the thick of the spear wall.
Thick of anything else?
Well, the hedgehog spines, really. But it is so well written, and I love seeing Arthur come to life. And of course, Derval Cadan, his right-hand man, his sidekick, but a much better version of a sidekick.
Yeah.
The word sidekick.
Not what sidekick implies.
Derval Cadan is one of the most loyal, incredible men just ever. He's a great guy.
And the framing narrative is just exploited brilliantly.
Yes, Bernard Cornwell does that very, very well. But yeah, please pick it up. It's set in the 5th century in Britain. Not many books are set then, because it was the Dark Ages. But as Bernard Cornwell says, during the Dark Ages, you can invent a lot of the history, which I don't mind when it's written this well.
Exactly. In the number 6 spot, I've got Red Rising. This has got more tragedy than a Shakespearean play, and then that meets the Hunger Games on steroids, and then has epic warfare on a whole new scale. This wouldn't be a list without Red Rising, so I had to, of course, follow in Ed's footsteps and talk about it.
Don't worry, there are no actual footsteps because we're wearing gravity boots.
I mean, it does feel that immersive, that you feel like you are in this sci-fi meets fantasy, not really sure what to classify it as. Really, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that it's pretty awesome. I think book 1 is fantastic, and although people kind of call it YA, I don't really agree. Anyway, the differentiation doesn't matter because I love it. And then book 2 becomes absolutely incredible, and Morningstar holds that level. Just to clarify, I'm talking about the trilogy, the original ones, because I've not read the later books. I'm saying the Red Rising trilogy, and hopefully in a year we can redo this video.
Expressive of your hands.
It's just because I'm passionate about this series, but hopefully in a year I can talk about all 6 books together, and then maybe when Red God is released I can talk about all 7.
I do think more people should talk with their hands like that, because a lot of people are like the open palm. Be more aggressive in your hand movements.
I mean, Darrow's just just compelling.
The thing is, I just love broccoli so much that I want to put gravy on it. You know?
You look like Spider-Man. Anyway, Red Rising, I think it's the classic example of... It's got good prose and it gets better and better in my opinion, but it's about story first, characters first as well. They're joined together.
I think it's like workman's prose, where it's very effective. There's not... I wouldn't say there's like much flair, but there is flair in the dialogue and the first line. And there are moments of that, but you don't need that constantly. Less is more.
It depends what you define great prose as. If you define it as great as in it makes the rest of the story as good as it can be, then I think this is incredible prose. It may not be showmanship, it may not be purple prose, but Pierce Brown I think definitely has craft as well beyond just in his prose beyond what you see here, but it does bring
smith.
out the best of the story. He knows what tools to use. So that is Red Rising. And now on to the final series you're talking about today, Ed.
Another historical fiction series that has smatterings of fantasy. It is The Oathsworn by Robert Lowe. Now, of course, you guys know that we love the Viking Ages. I love reading about it. Non-fiction, fiction, I love watching TV shows about it. I'm a Viking Ages reenactor as well, so I just love the period. And I would say the best historical fiction series featuring any Viking peoples is The Oathsworn by Robert Lowe. Now, he was also a reenactor in the same group as me as well, though we never met, unfortunately. But The Whale Road is the story of Orm, the White Bear Slayer.
Nice accent.
Thank you. And he is... Well, it's kind of a coming-of-age story at first, and he quickly becomes someone quite important. But he's a deep, cunning thinker. He's got a lot of... he's gold-browed, and he's a man who leads with his brain, with his mind, which is very different to a lot of the people who are on the same Drakkar as him. Now, The Whale Road follows Orm as him and his band are setting out to find the lost tomb of Attila the Hun, to find his magical sword. That's an amazing prose. I would say book 1 is the weakest of the series by far. When you get to book 2, you start to actually meet the cast who are in the books, who play a really big role in the rest of the series. It really gets into its own, and Orm becomes someone who you can really get behind. I'm becoming one of those people who says, read book 8 and it gets really good. Trust me, it's still good from the
Don't
word go.
do it, Ed.
The prose is intense at first, but it is so Viking centric. There are so many kind of Norse aphorisms that I absolutely love. Robert Lowe had a deep understanding of the sagas, of the tone, of the style, of the writing, of storytelling. And later on in the series, when you meet a certain character called Oleg Tryggvason, you will completely adore him and his storytelling. If you love The Bloodsworn, please pick this series up. If you love The Last Kingdom, this is the next series for you. It's probably a bit more advanced, I would say. Maybe a bit harder to read as a beginner to historical fiction, but as someone who loves that genre, I adore this series. So
Very nice, Ed. And you have converted a lot of people to pick it up.
Yeah, hopefully, and people seem to be enjoying it. But the writing is as sharp as a Danax.
Very nice, Ed. And you do not want to come across a Danax as an opponent.
On a dark night.
No, you do not. But now to a series. We talked about classics earlier.
Sorry.
We talked about classics earlier, and now this is why we're talking about it. The series that fathered modern fantasy is, of course, Lord of the Rings. Whenever, there's that non-quantifiable just warmth in your heart when you look at something you loved growing up, but also something that has so much meaning. Lord of the Rings is that for me. The films are my favourite films of all time. I've loved them. They're the only films that I'd say are my favourites now that were my favourites when I was a child. That they just stand the test of time, and I love them even more. I love everything about them, from the craft of the films.
You don't like Madagascar as much anymore?
Not quite as much, I still enjoy it, but not to the level. Lord of the Rings has just done this, and it will for the rest of my life. I mean, I was watching Billy and Dom Eat the World because it's got the actors of Merry and Pippin in it. Okay, I'll do anything that is remotely associated with the Lord of the Rings. It has a beauty about it. It is the only series that I'll read about that talks about trees for 30 pages. And of course, that is a gross exaggeration. I would say The Fellowship of the Ring is the most detail heavy and description heavy, but there is a beauty to it that just entrances me. And it's probably unfair because I wouldn't forgive other authors for doing the same sort of thing. But Tolkien just gets away with it because, he did write the Oxford Dictionary, so he can get away with quite a lot of things.
He's the daddy, so he gets away with a lot.
That is true. And Tolkien...
Was he the Pedro Pascal?
No,
of his era?
no.
Not listening. Not listening.
No.
Okay.
Please stop there. Anyway, it is just exceptional to have this lore and history to a world. I love detail. I love being able to immerse myself beyond the pages of just the main story. So I've chosen the Lord of the Rings, but obviously feeding into it is the wealth of knowledge of Middle Earth.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Usually I'm the one who bends the rules and you pull me up, but you actually can't choose Lord of the Rings as a series because it was one book. That's split into 3.
Okay.
What have I done?
Original intention, one book. But what was it published as?
I don't...
It is a trilogy. I'm sorry. And I'm really, really sorry if people get upset by that. But let me have my choice, okay? I'm featuring this as a series. I mean, I am holding the artwork for the Fellowship of the Ring in my hand. And it is widely regarded as a series. So, I'm just being a sheep. I follow the flock. And The Lord of the Rings is incredible, from the characterization to the history to the dialogue to the songs. And yes, Tom Bombadil as well.
I hate that guy. That is enough about Tom Bombadil. Let's talk about other things, which is, what are your favourite series of all time? Thank you so much for watching our video today.
And guess what our top 5 were, or top 4 and honourable mentions will be. Please comment down in the description below, and I hope that we didn't put you off watching the next part of the video, and hopefully you're intrigued by some of these books.
In the meantime, stay safe. Truth and courage.
The Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.